Thank you. The translation and for quote by Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to say the Sanskrit word. Everybody repeats that. Then I give the English translation as Srila Prabhupada is given, and we repeat that. Tasya, his, Anaya, by his, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of God. Parikarma, activities in devotional service. Shuddha, pure transcendental. Sattva, existence. Atmana, of the mind. Tat, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anusmarana, constantly remembering. Anupurtya, being perfectly done. Jnanam, knowledge. Virakti, non-attachment. Mat, processing. Abhut, become manifested. Nishitena, by sharpened activities. Yena, by which. Chichita, become separated. Samshaya Padam, position of doubtfulness. Nija, own. Jiva Kosham, engagement of a living entity. Translation. By regularly discharging devotional service, Prithu Maharaj became transcendental in mind and could therefore constantly think of the lotus feet of the Lord. Because of this, he became completely detached and attained perfect knowledge by which he could transcend all doubt. Thus, he was free from the clutches of false ego and the material conception of life. Okay. In the Narada Pancharatrika, devotional service to the Lord is likely not to a queen. When a queen gives an audience, many maidservants follow her. The maidservants of devotional service are material opulence, liberation, and mystic powers. The karmis are very much attached to material enjoyments. The jnanis are very anxious to become freed from material clutches, and the yogis are very fond of attaining the 8 kinds of mystic perfection. From the Narada Pancharatrika, we understand that if one attains the stage of pure devotional service, he also attains all the opulences derived from the fruitive activities, empirical philosophical speculation, and mystic yogic practices. Srila Bilamangala Thakur therefore prays in his Krishna Karnamrita, "My dear Lord, if I have unflinching devotion to you, you become manifest before me personally, and the results of fruitive activities and empirical physiological speculations, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation, become like personal attendants and remain standing before me as if awaiting my order." The idea here is that the jnanis, by culture of Brahma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, struggle very hard to get out of the clutches of material nature. But a devotee, by the dint of his advancement in devotional service, automatically becomes detached from his material body. When the devotee's spiritual body begins to manifest, he actually enters into his activities in transcendental life. At present, we have contacted a material body, material mind, and material intelligence. But when we become free from these material conditions, our spiritual body, spiritual mind, and spiritual intelligence become manifest. In that transcendental state, a devotee attains all the benefits of karma, jnana, and yoga. Although he never engages in fruitive activities of empirical speculation to attain mystic powers, automatically mystic powers appear in his service. A devotee does not want any kind of material opulence, but such opulence appear before him automatically. He does not have to endeavor for it. Because of his devotional service, he automatically becomes Brahmabhuta, as stated before. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14:26. One who is engaged in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahma. Because of his regular discharge of devotional service, a devotee attains the transcendental stage of life. Since his mind is transcendently situated, he cannot think of anything but the lotus feet of the Lord. This is the meaning of the word samsmarana anupurtaya. By constantly thinking of the lotus feet of the Lord, the devotee immediately becomes situated in Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva refers to the platform which is above the modes of material nature, including the mode of goodness. In the material world, the mode of goodness is considered to be a representative of the highest perfection, but one has to transcend this mode and come to the stage of Shuddha Sattva or pure goodness, where three qualities of material nature cannot act. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following example. If one has a strong digestive power, after eating he automatically lights a fire within his stomach to digest everything and does not need to take medicine to aid his digestion. Similarly, the fire of devotional service is so strong that a devotee does not need to act separately to attain perfect knowledge or detachment from material attractions. A jnani may become detached from material attractions by prolonged discussions on the subject of knowledge and may in this way finally come to the Brahmabhuta stage, but a devotee does not have to undergo so much trouble. By virtue of his devotional service, he attains the Brahmabhuta stage without a doubt. The yogis and jnanis are always doubtful about their constitutional position, therefore they mistakenly think of becoming one with the Supreme. However, a devotee's relationship with the Supreme becomes manifest beyond all doubts, and he immediately understands that his position is that of the eternal servant of the Lord. Jnanis and yogis without devotion may think themselves liberated, but actually their intelligence is not as pure as that of a devotee. In other words, the jnanis and yogis cannot become factually liberated unless they become elevated to the position of a devotee. The jnanis and yogis may rise to the highest position, Brahma realization, but because of their lack of devotion onto the lotus feet of the Lord, they again fall down into material nature. Therefore, jnanis and yogis should not be accepted as the real processes for liberation. By discharging devotional service, Maharaj Prithu automatically transcends all these positions. Since Maharaj Prithu was a Satyavesha incarnation of the Supreme Lord, he did not have to act in any way to attain liberation. He was from the Vaikuntha world or spiritual sky in order to execute the will of the Lord on earth. Consequently, he was to return home back to Godhead without having to execute jnana, yoga or karma. Although Prithu Maharaj was eternally a pure devotee of the Lord, he nonetheless adopted the process of devotional service in order to teach the people in general the proper process of executing the duties of life and ultimately returning back home, back to Godhead. Such a wonderful verse, such a wonderful purport, and there's a lot that we can discuss, obviously. Because the purport, of course, was long, but there's a lot of knowledge that is coming in over here. But before we do that, because we also have to kind of understand the full chapter also, I'll go to the index of the chapter. I'm going to just very quickly talk about a couple of key takeaways from the overall chapter of this, and then we will dive into the purport details, and can keep discussing till when we run out of time. So there are a couple of things. If we look at the chapter, till now, Prithu Maharaj, who is, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, the purport is the Shaktavesha avatar, the empowered living entity who is eternally in the liberated state. It's not like when they come to the material world, they become conditioned. They are not at all. They've come in over here only to be able to do certain duties, basically their service of what the Lord has asked them to do. So Prithu Maharaj similarly, he's done his part of doing multiples, which what we've covered in the previous chapters. Now he's become old. Now that's where the first learning comes in for us, right? Now in the very first three verses, it's very clearly mentioned the fact that Prithu Maharaj saw that he's starting to get old. Now the Vedic system is when you're starting to get old, which also means the fact that you've come to a point where your materialistic duties you've kind of done. Probably your kids are old enough to take care of themselves, and now you don't need to actively get involved into your household activities. So at this stage, Prithu Maharaj just left, he renounced everything, and he took sannyas over. Right? He kind of came to the order of renunciation. Now, at such an age, because you have done everything else, it's clearly now what else should you be doing? You should now focus all your time and effort into the service of the Lord, understanding Him and trying to elevate yourself in consciousness so that you are able to attain the objectives of the human form of life. But a renounced order of life is not just taken like that, and it's not like you whimsically think, okay, this is what I should be doing now, or at this such and such stage of life, this is my way of renunciation, or this is my way of executing devotional service. The verse also very clearly states that Prithu Maharaj followed strict regulations, but he did that as he was instructed by the Kumaras. The four Kumaras, they gave him the instruction. That was the previous chapter when they gave him the instruction of what should be done. We just don't take up the process of devotion, or we do not take up any process for that matter, just because we feel like doing it. Or like how it's kind of become a trend, and it's saying, I want to do what I can feel like connecting to and things like that. A self-realized person is the one who will be able to help us understand what is best for us. Oh, right. So the one teaching is at a certain age you're going up for a renounced order, and second is you're doing it based on the instructions that you have been given. So for somebody it could be sannyasa, it could be vanaprastha, it could be a grahastha who is practically a sannyasi, it could be anything. Right? So the other thing that we can clearly see is being very clearly mentioned in the chapter is the fact that Prithu Maharaj, for setting example for others, did his prescribed duties. Now, again, what are our prescribed duties? We're going to talk about that in detail. And he did all of that, and he also showed us what we've been discussing in the Bhagavad Gita class also, how the process of yoga ladder works. So what is yoga ladder? It's basically at the lowest stage of that ladder, where it's resting, is the point where a living entity is completely engaged into sense gratification. They have no realization of who they are, who the Lord is, and what they're supposed to be doing. They have no idea. That's the lowest stage. So from there, you can take the ladder, go step by step, one up through multiple stages of thing, and come to a point where you've fully understood the knowledge, and you're practically implementing it, and you're starting to get the results of it in terms of the pure love for God. Okay? We will understand the yoga ladder also a little bit in detail, but we have options to either take the ladder, like the steps one by one, or we can take the elevator and go straight to the destination if we understand what the destination is. The final thing towards the end of the chapter, there's one more interesting thing, which is talking now about Prithu Maharaj's son. So if we see over here, when Prithu Maharaj attained that higher consciousness stage, he left his body, and then his wife is, did the final rites, the funeral for Prithu Maharaj, and then she herself entered into that fire, which is a process which is called sati. Now we have to understand that there is this process, has a meaning to it, and needs to be done only when it makes sense and it is authorized. Let's understand what does it mean. When a wife is fully engaged in assisting the husband in the process of devotional service, as it is prescribed, so they're assisting in that process. So it's a pretty good deal in that sense. That if you're doing a devotional service yourself, you get whatever results of devotional service you do, plus because you've assisted your husband, so you get 50% of that credit also. So it's like 50% extra deal. So now, what is the objective of human form of life? It is to fully understand and realize the Lord, right? So if a wife has assisted the husband to attain the highest order of the purpose of life, to be able to go back to Vaikuntha, to be able to go back to Godhead, they also attain the same destination. Okay? So once they have attained the same destination, they have completed their duties as being assisting, and they are also ready to attain the same destination as their husband has got. In this case, because he completely came to that consciousness level, the wife would think in that sense, why am I here? What is my need? Because I have also attained, why stay in this body and suffer more when my destination, my ticket is already there? You stand in the queue, you make a lot of effort to get a flight ticket. You've done all the work that you were supposed to do in the city that you were visiting, and you have completed the duties, and now you have a flight ticket to go back home and be very comfortable. Would anybody just stay on the airport for, let's say, a couple of more years and not take that flight immediately and go to a comfortable point of being home? That is the move. Yes, Prabhu.
Or when they have achieved that level, why to give up the body with husband? She could have given up the body with someone else in the family. When you achieve that level, then you get free from all the bodily relations.
Yes. So then who is the family member?
Whoever, if she sees anyone else, whoever's cremation thing is going on, she could just like...
No, so that's the thing, right? The duty, eternal duty is the husband and wives. And it's body, right? So you can keep extending the relationship, and on the name of relationship, just keep saying, I have duties left. So that's why it is the higher authorities are able to perfectly explain what needs to be done. Okay? We'll come back to the question and answer section. Okay? So in this, there are exceptions to the processes also, because the authorities would might say, like, let's say the example of Kunti Mata. She did not do the process because she was instructed that way, that you have certain responsibilities, you have a certain role to play in the Leelas, and so, no. So, in today's modern age, should sati be performed? No. Why? Because it's not like the husband is coming to the point of, highest consciousness, and hence the position is secure. We have to take care of our own devotional services, and it's not in that order. Okay? So that's kind of overall the few takeaways. Let's come back to our verse. And in our verse, we kind of talked about a couple of things. Srila Prabhupada is talking about this concept of human form of life and all the other yoga systems and everything. So let's just understand real quick what is yoga. And the term yoga, Srila Prabhupada has multiple times explained to us in the purport that yoga means the connection with the Supreme. So any process which authentically takes you towards the connection to the Supreme is authentically yoga. Otherwise, it's just practice. Right? Otherwise, it's of no use. So that's the objective, but then through intelligence we know this objective, and the path of yoga is basically the path of sense control. No matter what process we pick up, the ultimate objective is to reach to a point where we are fully surrendered to the Lord in loving service of His, but the path that we take through that is of sense control. We're supposed to be not engaging our senses into materialistic objects of senses, but rather in the service of the Lord. Right? So, depending on how much of intelligence one has, like I wear glasses, I can't see too far, but somebody else might have a very good vision, can see much longer, so they can understand, okay, that's the destination and I can see the full path. I'm weak-sighted, I can't, so I really need a lot of assistance to be able to reach that path. But, let me take an analogy to just help you understand. You're visiting Toronto for the first time and you want to go to the CN Tower. Now, CN Tower, there will be one person who will be very intelligent, saying, oh, it's tall, I can see it. So be able to navigate, they know what the destination is, they can see it, and then the path does not matter in that sense because you're just kind of always walking towards the destination. Versus somebody else who's not able to understand that that is CN Tower and how do I reach there. They're asking for directions, and the direction would be, okay, go straight 2 blocks and then take a right, and then you can ask somebody else. And then when they take a right, then over there they say, hey, I want to go to CN Tower. And they say, okay, right, go straight and 3 blocks, take a left, whatever, right? So at every stage, you're going stage by stage by stage without understanding the full destination, but at every stage you're being guided to one by one, take a step towards the final destination. If all steps have been taken towards final destination, then it's good, but if you lost your way in between of not following instructions, then you will be lost. This step by step instructions is the yoga ladder. How does it work? The first thing is you start getting intelligence. That's the Jnana Yoga process. Jnana Yoga is that I'm going to get knowledge. I'm going to indulge in trying to understand what is what. Right? Trying to understand what is the body, what is the soul, what is material, what is spiritual. Basically, at the end of this, again, I'm talking of 2 things in parallel, but Jnana Yoga, you will come to the point of coming in to understand what is the Sambandha Jnana. What is Sambandha Jnana? It means I understand who I am, who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, and what is my relationship with it. Sambandha means relationship. Right? So when through these processes at the initial stages, you gather the knowledge in order to be able to come to a point of Sambandha Jnana, where you have now understood that what is who I am and who the Lord is. Right? Then the next step in the ladder could be that you come to the point of saying, okay, now that I understand my position and my relationship with the Lord, I will have to act accordingly. That is where we start the Karma Yoga process, where we try and come to the point of doing Nishkam Karma. Right? So this is what is called the Abhidhyaya Jnana. Abhidhyaya is basically working in accordance to Sambandha Jnana, in working in the service of the Lord. So we start getting trained to be able to understand how every activity that we are doing can be, modified in a way that it can be done for the service of the Lord. So that's the. But then finally, when we get further elevated into that, we come to the topmost section, which is the Bhakti Yoga process. Now the Bhakti Yoga process is basically where you come to the point of Prayojana. Prayojana means is now you are engaged into spontaneous, loving relationship with the Lord. So now you don't need to follow rules and regulations in that sense of by saying, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You just automatically, out of love, understand what Krishna would love, and you do that. So now options are, we go through this process one by one, where we slowly and steadily develop our understanding, or we can directly come to the fact of understanding that we are supposed to be doing devotional service. Right? So that its choice is us. Like we go through this step by step, take our time, and have the risk of not understanding what the next step is or get the wrong directions, or we totally take the elevator and go directly to the floor that we need to go. Right? So, again, when we're talking about the elevator service, right? The way it works is basically, when you are at the lower stages, and we can see this around us very easily and realize this also. When we are looking at around us, at the lower stages of this Karma Yoga processes or Jnana Yoga processes, we are doing things, whatever we are doing, we're doing things out of fear. At this stage, we said, be God-fearing. Have you heard that term ever? Right? Be God-fearing. What does it mean? I said, make sure you're doing the right thing, otherwise you will be punished. So out of fear, we're doing the right thing. The analogy equivalent could be, the child is like, I need to finish my homework, otherwise when my father comes back home, he's going to scold me and I'm going to get in trouble. So I don't want that, so I should finish my homework. That's a very lower stage of our engagement with the Supreme. When we get into more knowledge, and when we start understanding things more and more, that is when we elevate ourselves to the point of acting out of duty. Now we started understanding the fact that, what belongs to me? Nothing. everything belongs to Krishna and He's the one who's given me everything. And even the fact that the air that I am breathing is given to me by Him, what I drink, what I eat is given to me by Him. I'm totally indebted to Him. This is the stage where you are in that awe, where you understand the supremacy of the Lord and understand that you're nothing. So now you're saying, out of duty, as a reciprocation for everything that I have got from the Supreme, I need to reciprocate, and so I need to do something. So now it's no longer fear. Now it is you want to do out of sense of duty. From an analogy perspective, it's again going to be something like, oh, the father he does so much of effort in office just to be able to get good salary so that I can sit in this air-conditioned room and study and make sure I'm comfortable enough and I'm getting all resources to be able to be successful in my life. Is it not my duty to reciprocate by doing what he wants me to do? That's the duty, sense of duty that comes in. And the final stage is what we talked about. This is stage of doing out of love. Spontaneous reciprocation out of love. Right? In that case, you'll automatically have a love saying, oh, my father is so amazing, he's done so much more. Usually this stage comes in our lives pretty late, after many years when we start seeing that, what was given to us really helped us to be where we are. And again, same in Krishna consciousness also, we start realizing afterwards that, Krishna, how mercifully made us go through troubles also, and sometimes discomforting situations also, only to help us elevate ourselves further into a stage where we love. So, out of love is spontaneously doing things. Now, nobody has to tell you what has to be done. Nobody has to write down rules for you. You just out of love saying, oh, it's a little cold. Maybe I think Krishna is also cold. So you go and give the duties a little shower or something, or you turn on the heating or something. And it's like, oh, today is a kind of a day in which, such and such thing would be very nice to eat. You know how you get, because of the weather changes, sometimes you have a craving for something, and so out of spontaneous love, you're just doing it as a service. Right? So that is where, through these stages, we come gradually increasing ourselves from this stage, of what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport is, from this stage of being in the ignorance and passion. Ignorance and passion means I'm totally ignorant of what my duties are, responsibilities are, or I'm very passionate about materialistic gains. Right? So from there, we come to the point, the yoga ladder would help you to come to the point of goodness. In terms of goodness, the goodness is basically you're being a good person, trying to be good to everybody, you're trying to do the right thing, being clean, etc., waking on the right time, doing the right things. But that goodness is not the destination. Why is it not the destination? It's because even when we are doing good to others, we do get reactions for that also, and that is going to continue to keep us binded in this cycle of birth and death. So even goodness is not the ultimate goal, it's just a stage in between. What did Srila Prabhupada say in the purport as being the final stage is the Shuddha Sattva, the pure goodness. The pure goodness means you have gone above the modes of material nature also, and you are truly situated in the mode where you understand Krishna very well, and you understand what's your duty as a Krishna conscious person or a Krishna devotee. We have to make sure that not only am I Krishna conscious, but help every living entity out there be elevated and get out of their miseries. That is Shuddha Sattva. We were singing in the morning also, right? And I really love that part. Inside my heart, with Nashima, they will be, and outside also be manifests. So it's like simple. When we come to this Shuddha Sattva stage, the pure goodness, it's like, may Lord stay in my heart and I be Krishna conscious, and may He also manifest outside in terms of making everybody else Krishna conscious. So that is where, I don't know the question from the second. So that is where, that becomes a prescribed duty. So these are the duties that once performed, one starts getting through the stages of elevation. We start realizing the supreme truth. And again, the realization of supreme truth also does not happen overnight. It also happens in stages. Srila Prabhupada has very nicely given up all of these stages to us so that we can contemplate and understand, self-introspect, where are we? Right? So the first stage is the Brahman realization stage. The Brahman realization stage, you have just understood the fact that you are not this body. You have understood the difference between body and the soul. And this is the stage at which the Gyanis and Yogis can reach. They don't go beyond this stage. That is it. The next stage is the Paramatma stage, where you have realized the fact that Paramatma exists in the heart of every body. With every living entity, there is Paramatma. So, I see Paramatma, I see Paramatma, I see Paramatma, and I see a living entity which is a part and parcel of the Lord. And now you are coming into a point of looking beyond the body everywhere else also, and it's time to come to a stage of being Sudarshan. Equally, having an equal vision for everybody and equal compassion for everybody. Now you come to the point of where you're saying, this is my family member and this is not, you go beyond it now. Because everybody is nothing but a part and parcel of the Lord, and everybody is our family member. Right? And then the final stage is understanding the Bhagavana realization, which is to understand the personality of Godhead. Right? We have talked about this multiple times. The supreme personality of Godhead. Why such a long phrase? Because Krishna is not God, in the sense that any empowered living entity who has certain power, certain responsibility, etc. He is the Godhead. He is the origin of all of this. He is the highest of all. Right? And that is why he is the supreme. There is nobody equal or greater than him. And he is a personality. He is a person. You cannot understand Krishna as being anybody just in the a light or an energy or anything like that. The supreme personality of Godhead. That is what we address Krishna as. So that is the stage we come in. So we said we can go through the ladder process one by one, trying to elevate ourselves, or we can use the Bhakti Yoga stage and use it as an elevator to just directly reach to your destination. So when we engage ourselves in the devotional service of the Lord, that Srila Prabhupada in the purport is also talking about is, it is like the fire. The analogy was taken in terms of the digestive fire within our stomach, which is going to digest everything. Devotional service is also similarly a very intense fire in which every unwanted thing gets burnt immediately. So it is that intense fire in which the unwanted things are called the anarthas. So all the anarthas are going to get rid of. So it's anartha nivritti. That's the stage that we attain very easily through devotional service, because once we have engaged all our senses lovingly in the service of the Lord, then automatically we don't want to they will not get engaged anywhere else. It's like putting a leash to them and tying it up in one place. Now they're not going to go anywhere. So, we offer the flower to the Lord. Why do we smell it? That's engaging our nose, a sense of smell in the service of the Lord. Similarly, everything can be engaged into the service of the Lord. The process of devotional service is again a very interesting. Srila Prabhupada is so intelligently selected words in Revelation. He did not say devotion, he did not say service, he said devotional service. Because devotional service is a process which includes devotion, which is having love for the Lord, and it includes service, taking action. So just by the fact that we have knowledge, that's not sufficient. Or just by the fact that we are doing something is not sufficient. We have to know things as they are and act accordingly. That is devotional service. Not just the knowledge or not just the service. It has to be both together. That process of devotional service is the fire that we are talking about, which will devour any unwanted anarthas that we have. Right? And the final thing that I'm going to talk about, and then we can go to the question section, is, when we go into the process of devotional service, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita takes this analogy about a small reservoir of water and a large reservoir of water. A large reservoir of water will have everything that a small reservoir of water has. So when we take up the process of devotional service, it includes everything. The Jnana Yoga process is giving you jnana, the knowledge, the intelligence. So does the devotional service. The more we chant, the more we realize Krishna. The more we realize Krishna, the more we do service. The more we do service, the better our chanting becomes. It's a cycle. Right? So, the analogy that Srila Prabhupada took in the purport was about the queen and the queen automatically coming with the maid servants. Right? So we don't have to explicitly make effort to try and get something extra. It automatically comes with devotional service. Right? Srila Prabhupada again and again keep mentioning that a lot of people in general, they would kind of what they would do is they want dharma, artha, kama, moksha. That's what Srila Prabhupada said as religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. That is what people are seeking. But devotional service, this is just side effects. You get it automatically, but you go beyond it. Let's take the examples, right? In the pure devotional state, you don't want wealth, but still you end up getting it. But Krishna is merciful, he might just take it away from you for a while, so that you fully surrender to him and then give it back to you. Let's take an example. Sudama, right? Very materialistically, on the materialistic terms, having nothing. Right? On a devotional stage, infinite to the being. Right? Because of his devotion, he got everything. We can have so many such examples, in which we can keep saying. Right? We were listening to that story a couple of days ago about the fruit vendor who gave fruits to Krishna. What she said, yeah, the fruits I would lovingly give it to you, but got enormous wealth. These are all side products. What does a devotee, however, say? A devotee's attitude is what Amunila Prabhu was telling in the class, was like, Krishna, you cheated me, I did not want wealth, I wanted love, your love. Right? So that is the stage in which you get it. But before that, Srila Prabhupada takes his example and explains the fact is, he was this very nice, he had a very nice pharmaceutical business, and it all went to zero real quick, real fast. And then Srila Prabhupada is like, oh, that was Krishna's mercy, because if that was not done, I would have not taken further steps or got time to do further steps in Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna would lovingly take things away, but then he's going to give a lot more back in love. So let's understand what the objective is. Let's not get deviated by the small things in between. And let's not get deviated by the different steps that we are taking in between as part of the yoga ladder process. Let's understand that our objective is pure love of Krishna, and the way we can get pure love is not to love anything else. And the way to not love anything else is to love Krishna, because he's so amazing. There's this part in the Bhagavatam where the gopis are describing, saying, don't look at Krishna if you are still wanting to have some material desire, because as soon as you look at Krishna with love, you will not be able to like anything else. You just give up everything else. That is how we should be looking at Krishna. We're going to stop here for any questions. Thank you so much. You had some questions.
Like in devotional service, is it ever possible to be pure devotional? Because that's something very practical I observed. On higher level of devotional service, there are very high standards. I've never seen smile on those devotees' faces. I feel like it becomes very mechanic at that time. That there's a fear at that time. You have to make sure the standards are you are making up to the standards or not, and you have to make sure if somebody is wrong and you just keep on correcting them. It's just like more mechanical, full of fear, instead of having that love. Because when there was love, it was the initial stage when there were no rules, no regulations, but love for Krishna. Same way when we see Shabari, there was love for Lord Rama, that Lord Rama came to her house instead of going to yogis or tapasvis or gyanis or karmis. Same with Karmabai, Krishna ate her muchi.
So let's break it down. Can pure devotional service be attained? Yes. Srila Prabhupada guarantees it. You follow the process, you attain it. When you're looking at a senior devotee and you think they're not in pure devotional service just because they're not looking happy, or just because they come and say you're doing this wrong, and etc. A very senior devotee also plays the role of an acharya. An acharya is a teacher. They have to teach, and they do that service in order to help us out. So if somebody is getting, if a senior devotee is getting angry, seeming externally looking angry and chastising, does not mean the person has fallen down into the world of anger and hence not at the devotional service stage. They are mercifully taking that position only to help us realize that we have done something wrong, so that we stop doing it and elevate ourselves to the position. Right? Devotees externally might be showing something because of our contaminated state of mind. We see it in a particular way. A pure devotee, a Vaishnava, is always situated at the lotus feet of the Lord. They might take a step down to come to your level to be able to explain you things, but that does not mean that they have fallen down.
I don't say they've fallen down.
Yeah.
But I know Prabhuji is just like the fear is there at that level when things become mechanical.
No, it's not. The fear is against spontaneous love sometimes. So if you're doing service, and if as and when you gradually increase, the fear is, oh, I should not leave the lotus feet of my Guru or Krishna so that I don't fall down. The fear is that I don't do anything that is not in the best quality of service that I can do. That fear is what is actually helping us elevate. That's the good thing. The fear that we are talking about in the lower stages is the fear that if I don't do something, then I'm going to go to hell. That's not what the fear is. The fear is I want to do the best. No matter which stage in devotional service you are, you will have the fear that if I don't be careful, and that fear is needed. If I don't be careful, then I'll fall down. The day that fear is gone, you will fall down. Right? You wanted to say something?
I just personally believe that helping others by giving feedback is much more effective in a mood of kindness.
Absolutely.
And I see it in my spiritual life, like in where the yatra where I come from, our temple president, spiritual master, kept on telling him we're not progressing because there's too much apparat.
Right.
And because devotees kept on fooling themselves that they're doing like a favor to the person, but in reality a lot of people stopped coming because people were so rudely criticized.
Yes.
And I think that's what you mean, right? That the rules get so important that people kind of forget
Correct.
the love.
So the question of kind of
That's where we need to understand what is our position. Introspect. If I'm still not at an elevated state, I'm still a Kanishta, I cannot go about correcting people. I need correction myself. That is where devotional service, intelligence is needed to be able to understand where I stand and where somebody else is. Right? For anybody senior in devotional service to you, we always take a humble position. But anybody senior, we always take instructions and even chastisement with love. Right? But we also need to actually assess and understand our position and process. That's why all these different steps, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 has been given. Because so that we know where we are and we don't try and think ourselves to be too great, because as soon as we start doing that, we start doing Vaishnava and we fall. Right? So if I'm not at a stage where I can, say for example, instruct you, then I should not be doing that. If I'm doing that, then that's wrong. Sorry.
This question is related with practicing devotional service. In our internal emotion, we have a two components. One is mind, another one is trust.
Mind and trust. Okay.
Trust. In this world, some area we are seeing fake devotional process. We are seeing real devotional process.
Yes.
So everybody need to in a position to assess and get into the right devotional process.
Yes.
Here, how to decide when to use mind and when to use trust?
You need to use your mind to understand where the trust needs to be put in. Okay? And then you will never be cheated. Where do we need to put our trust? The GPS system has been very clearly given to us in this game. Sadhu, Shastra, Guru. 3 things.
Okay.
If somebody is not doing the pure devotional service actually, but it's just kind of creating a their own process, which is, as you said, very common, then these three things will not match. A bona fide guru coming in from a proper parampara system, the devotees and the scriptures, they all need to be aligned. So when we, that is why, again, intelligence, there has to be things. We read the scriptures very clearly tell us what is the characteristic of a devotee, what is the characteristic of a guru, what is the devotional service actually supposed to be done. And then we say, are you doing the same thing? Yes, it matches. And then I look at you as an example and then follow you. But if you are doing something which is not matching the scripture, contradicting to that, I reject it. That's the process. And that is why reading of scriptures is also very important. This morning Bhagavatam classes is to ensure that we don't become fanatic. We have to be very scientifically, Srila Prabhupada has told us to read the scriptures as if we are lawyers. To fully scrutinizingly understand everything and make sure that we are on time. I think we are on time. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.